with us. But you have this ability to live bet during games, and you can wager as if you're purchasing shares of a stock and then selling shares of a stock. So it's really a unique, innovative betting experience. And if you haven't tried it out already, I encourage you to give it a try. You are missing out. But the first game I want us to get into here, it was something that was honestly really incredible TV to watch. I was freaking out when this happened. I started texting Keon. I don't know if he got to see it right away when it happened, but Pete Alonso last night made history, and he did something for the first time in all of Major League Baseball history, as far back as that spans. He did something that no one has ever done before. And what I'm alluding to here was the home run that he hit in the ninth inning last night against the Milwaukee Brewers on the road in Milwaukee, that put the Mets up 3-2. And then the Mets ended up scoring another run in that inning. They ended up winning the game 4-2 and successfully knocking out the Milwaukee Brewers from MLB postseason contention. But for Pete Alonso to hit that home run in that spot, the Mets were down 2-0 in the ninth inning. They had runners on first and third, and Pete Alonso comes up to the plate, and he ends up hitting a home run to right field. And it was the first time in MLB history for a player to hit a go-ahead home run in the ninth inning or later of a winner-take-all postseason game with his team trailing. I mean,
unbelievable.
It was literally like watching a movie. And I mean, I know for me watching that, I mean, I love rooting for the underdog. Keon's got some personal feelings about the Mets tied to, his Nationals.
Yeah, I just don't like the Mets. I don't like the Mets. I don't like seeing the Mets. I don't like that the Mets have taken some great players of ours and done good things with them. I just don't want the Mets to be happy.
And look, I mean, if they're playing the Diamondbacks, I don't like the Mets either. I'm right there with you. But if my team's not in it and the Dodgers aren't in it, then I'm not really vested either way. I just want to see really fun sports things happen.
Yeah, and most games I'm like that. There's just a couple of teams across a couple of sports where no, I don't want you to have good things. But Pete Alonso was big time. It was very clutch performance by him.
Well, and to kind of take the stakes even further, Pete Alonso is going to be a free agent this summer. So that at bat where he hits that home run, that was potentially his last at bat with the Mets. I mean, that could have been the end of it. Had they end up losing that game,
right,
he goes into free agency. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But instead, he gets to keep the team in the postseason. They are now taking on the Phillies in the NLDS, which starts tomorrow. And I'm so excited to continue to see just the path. I mean, we talked a bit about the Mets yesterday and the potential for what could happen if they were to win that game and get through the Brewers, because there's a long track record of teams that make it to the World Series that go through Milwaukee.
And for whatever reason, I mean, and it's something that has spanned coaching staffs, player turnover. It just seems to always be the path to the World Series from the National League begins with Milwaukee. You beat them in the first round and you go on. I don't know what it is. So it just feels like, oh, this is a Mets year.
Well, and you know what was kind of crazy too, because in that game, like after that home run was hit, the Mets were, I mean, at that point, when they take the lead and it's like, oh my God, we've done this really improbable thing. Now we're looking like we're gonna win. They started taking their starting pitchers and they were using them as is in a relief spot. So David Peterson, who's like their standout starting ace pitcher, he came in and closed the game, which, I mean, that was really cool to see. I love a team that's willing to just kind of do whatever they have to do at that point to, secure the win and keep things going. That's honestly one of the best parts about MLB playoffs is seeing guys being able to fill in and kind of different spots that you don't typically see them, do that for. So to see that, come out as early as a wild card, elimination game, that was really cool. The Mets and the Tigers, man, they've got some good momentum right now.
They really do. If that's the World Series, that's fun. As much as I hate the Mets, and lost Toby on the text line because he wants me to be sad, I think, just said, let's go Mets. Very hurtful, lost Toby. Insanely hurtful. But if I just take my grievance with the Mets just for a second, that's fun baseball. The way the Mets are playing right now and the way the Tigers are playing right now, That's a World Series. I wouldn't have a problem
I'm
with that.
watching. I'm
That's must see TV.
So I mean, this is something that we'll be following. Of course, we'll be following this Padres and Dodgers series that's going to kick off on Saturday as well. So when we get to the end of the show, and I'm recapping some of the picks that I've put out for today, we'll get into that a little bit because I do have a pick for that game on Saturday. And you can always find the Beat the Book bets to place on the Beat the Book website. You can get there through the Instagram account. The tag is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. Just click the link in the bio. That'll take you right to the website with the picks to play, as well as past episodes of this show. If you want to get into the podcasts and listen to some things that maybe you didn't get to catch live. There was a pretty awesome episode from earlier this week with Ced Ceballos talking about the NBA.
Look, you're not going to want to miss that. If you did miss it, then you don't have to. You can go back. It's the Tuesday Beat the Book. Go back and find that. Jump to about the middle of it. We don't mind if you want to skip over us and get to Ced. I do that. Ced Ceballos, incredibly interesting guy, and just basketball knowledge just pouring out of him. Everything he says, it was all insightful. Go back and listen to that. That's really good.
Really awesome perspective from him. We're hoping to have him back on here next week. We'll keep you guys updated on that progress. But there was another game that did take place yesterday.
Well, before we jump to that, let's just clean up the text line here a little bit. Golden Domer says LFGM. Let's bleep and go Mets. All right. I see how it is. Okay. All right. I could erupt over this, but I won't. I will hold it to myself and seethe quietly in a corner. Lost Toby also says Bumgarner closing out the World Series is my favorite playoff memory. I wasn't trying to be hurtful, but that was a dub for me. And also Mets are the love child of the Giants. I suppose that there are other motives for liking and rooting for the Mets. I'm taking it all a little personally because that franchise and I go back a long way, and almost none of our crossing of our paths has been very, very good. Anyway, that's the last of the text there.
Well, and to Lost Toby's text, I mean, anyone that's from here that can remember that far back. Once upon a time, our Diamondbacks were in a World Series where we sent in Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling to close the game 7. And that was one of the most epic things I think I've ever watched in my life. The only time you will ever see two of the greatest pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball come into a game in a closing relief role.
That's really cool. Like the Alonso thing was really cool last night. That's cool. Bumgarner closing out the World Series. Like there are really great playoff moments. And if your team has been fortunate enough to have at least one, I think you should count yourself lucky.
Didn't Steven Strasburg long time ago for the
Strasburg closed it out, and that was a great moment too, because obviously after all the injuries derailed him and before all the injuries derailed him, for 1 year the promise of Steven Strasburg just hit. The whole season he was healthy the whole year, and then when they needed him the most on short rest, Steven Strasburg goes in, closes the thing out. Man, that was really, really cool. I don't even know if that's my favorite moment, because in the wild card they were playing the Brewers, and it was game 3 and they needed to win to move on. They were down 4 runs, and Juan Soto just shoots it into the gap, and 3 guys go around, and the next thing you know, the Nationals are on top heading into the 9th with a chance to close that thing out and move on. And they did. That was a really cool moment too.
It has got to be so rough being a specifically Milwaukee Brewers
fan. Because your team's not bad. Like it's not as rough if you're a White Sox fan, because you could just wake up and just pencil in an L. Like that's painful. Don't get me wrong. That's not good. You're not enjoying your life. But you know what your team is. If your team is the Dodgers, you know what your payroll is. You know what you should expect from that team, even if they disappoint you. The Brewers are good every year, and it's literally round 1. You're the swinging gate for everybody to step to the World Series through. That has to suck.
That hurts. Like just overtime, year after year after year of seeing team come through us and look how far they went. That's just something that's going to be really hard to overcome.
Yeah. Golden Domer says, did you know the Mets colors are a combination of the Giants and the Dodgers orange and blue? I don't know if that's true, but I didn't know that. I did not know that. And then the moist one says, saw an edit of Pete Alonso set to Frank Sinatra music, and it brought a tear to my eye. Also, don't forget to thank Trent Grisham too. Um, yeah, no, that was I've got to find that edit. Where did you find that?
I'm
Go it.
I'm definitely gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's floating around Instagram or TikTok
That's
somewhere.
awesome. Yeah.
But we cannot go without talking about this Thursday night football game that we had yesterday. A lot of offense in a game where I think Keon and I were leaning a little bit more towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, stepping up to the plate.
Stepping up. And even like, Raheem Morris, defensive minded head coach for the Falcons, he's got them playing better than they have in the past. It just felt like this was going to be a little bit more of a grind.
One of my new favorite fascinations about the NFL is Kirk Cousins like embracing the Atlanta fan base. Did you see him like after the game? They showed him doing the swag surf like with the crowd.
I did not see
it's
that.
Awesome. It's so great.
Now, Atlanta fans are cool like that, and all you have to do is have a couple of good games, and they'll roll with you immediately.
Well, and Kirk is just such a wholesome, good person, just a great human being in general. So like seeing the way, his whole career, how it's just played out in the NFL, and he's, gone to so many different cities now, and he's, won over these fan bases every single place he's like ever played at. And it's just because people just gravitate to him.
Impossible to hate.
Right.
As a person, impossible to hate. He just is just a really kind, nice guy who seems to love his family and Jesus. And I don't know, that's just a nice he's just a nice guy.
And he'll take off his shirt and throw on a chain and,
Yeah, but that was his team doing that for him. Because Kirk Cousins, wholesome as he is, doesn't have any chains. So they all gave him theirs. And it just that's also a wholesome moment.
I think don't they call him like Kirko chains or something like that?
I'm sure they do now. It's
well, Kirko Chains, 509 passing yards yesterday, 4 passing touchdowns. I was actually watching the game with Radio Ron yesterday, and one of the picks that I did post was to take Kirk Cousins at a slightly conservative 225 plus passing yards, a little bit below where his line was, because felt like I needed to give him a little slack there, and
he basically doubled it.
With like 6 minutes left in the second quarter,
yeah.
he had already surpassed it, and you knew at that point like what kind of a game this is going to be for Kirk.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be on Kirk Cousins like alternate passing yards last night, if you had the foresight to like ladder that up, send us a text 888-368-1580. Someone out there had to have done this.
You're filthy rich right now if that happened for you.
In addition to that, a little bit of an underwhelming game. Well, I guess it's kind of hard to say it's underwhelming from Baker Mayfield. He started out, I mean, very, very well, really kind of going toe for toe with Kirk Cousins in terms of the scoring. The game itself was always pretty neck and neck. No team really got up ever by like 2 scores or more or anything like that. And it seemed like Baker Mayfield at the very least was going to probably hit his over on passing yards. Like certainly by halftime, he had like 131 passing yards, something like that. And, my recommendation was to take him for 250 plus. And then just the way that the second half ended up going, there were all these opportunities where Baker was under pressure. He had to kind of run out of the pocket. Then he's got a decision to, try and pull off a throw, or he's going to do some sort of a run. And we got this crazy rushing performance out of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he's been running more this year, I've noticed. It's a weird thing about the way that he's been playing, but it's essentially nobody respects his ability to run with the football. So he's just taking huge advantage of that and picking up first downs with his legs. Now you're never going to confuse Baker Mayfield for Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, but he moves well enough that if there's nobody around, he's picking up the first down and moving the sticks.
He almost beat Bucky Irving in rushing yards, which is kind of crazy. I mean, there's some quarterbacks out there where you can expect them to get more yards than one of your running backs, but Baker Mayfield is not typically one of them.
No. And that's part of it too, is that the Baker Mayfield experience this year has been kind of a roller coaster. When he's playing well, it's through the roof. When he's not, it's down in the basement essentially. And it's changing from play to play. It's not even like he has a great game and a bad game. Baker has a great play that you've never seen, and then he's got a play that you just go, why would you throw that there? What were you looking? What were you thinking about? So Baker's just an interesting guy in general, and that last night I don't think it could have been showcased any better.
Well, and to that point, anyone that might have been on the Chris Godwin 6 or more receptions, that was something that he had hit in every single game up until last night, and he was stuck on 5 receptions for much of that second half. And I'm just begging. I'm like, Baker, throw the ball, and then he gets some pressure, and all of a sudden he jukes a couple of guys. I mean, they weren't bad runs. I mean, he's getting good yardage.
Was it week 2 where he juked that one? He got to the end zone and he planted his foot and made a defender fall down. I don't know what's gotten into Baker this year. We got running Baker.
Maybe it's some of these Tom Brady comparisons that people keep throwing out there.
No idea. Yeah, let's see Tom do this.
Right.
I don't know. We're right up against it there. Lost Toby dropping in on the text line to clarify some of the Mets stuff. He said the Mets came once the Dodgers and Giants left New York, why they adopted both colors, which is why I said it's their love child. So yeah, no, appreciate the history lesson there. I didn't know that. That's very cool. So we've got Alex Kane from Sport Trade coming up. You're not going to want to miss it because we've got a prize contest that Sport Trade is giving away, about $150 worth of stuff, $100 of Amazon gift card on the line, $50 of Sport Trade credit. Alex is going to join us next segment to tell you how you can win and make that money yours. And also some of the other stuff going on with Sport Trade as well. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and I are set to bring you the action between the Falcons and the Eagles from Philadelphia. Philly with Saquon Barkley, the running back, now sparking the offense. They return home after a big win in Brazil over Green Bay. Now they host Atlanta, looking for their first win with quarterback Kirk Cousins. Join us on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 1580, The Fanatic.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, The Vanguard Group, Inc., all rights reserved, Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. After that, you can also save me, as I'm currently hanging from the edge of a cliff. To recap, number 1, customize and save. Number 2, time allowing, save me. Shoulders separating!
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Savings may vary, underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
AZ Preps 365, your source for all the news, info, highlights, and more. Athlete news and interviews. Talk with coaches. Keep you up to date with the changes, moves, upcoming events, and more. AZ Preps 365, Arizona's ultimate prep sports show. If you miss a minute, you miss a lot. AZ Preps 365, Saturday mornings 8 till 10 on 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, and always on at 1580thefanatic.com.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to HarmonSolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's HarmonSolar.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
Do you know about 211 Arizona? It's a free service to connect you with resources anywhere in Arizona. Housing assistance and eviction prevention, transportation and ride services, healthcare benefits, food resources, and even utility bill support. Talk to a live operator in English or Spanish, 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Just dial 211 or visit 211arizona.org. Get connected, get answers, and get the help you need. This message is sponsored by 211 Arizona.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Arizona's new home for sports.
This is Beat the Book. Welcome back. I am your host, Dylan Cohen. We've got Keon Rose, my co-host, in the control room. And right now, Alex Kane, the CEO of Sport Trade, which is the newest sports betting app to launch here in Arizona. They had their soft launch just last month in September. Alex is joining us right now. How's everything going?
What's going on, guys? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. We're chatting about some of these exciting games that happened yesterday. I'm sure you're pretty well aware, and we're going to get into some of that stuff with you here. But just wanted to ask, how has everything been going so far in Arizona for Sport Trade?
Wonderful start for us. We did over $200,000 of handle, which means the amount that, customers bet on the platform on Sunday. That's last Sunday, which is our first NFL Sunday. Looking forward to an even bigger week this week. And yeah, how about those baseball games last night? This has been an incredible postseason for the MLB.
I could not agree more. That is exactly what Keon and I were just talking about before we brought you in here. Obviously, that Mets game yesterday, that was just a crazy finish. Really excited for what's to come with the NLDS and the ALDS series that's about to kick off on Saturday here. But Alex, we need to get down to business because Sport Trade is offering a prize. And I just want to have you kind of explain how this giveaway, so to speak, is ultimately going to work.
Absolutely. We're super excited about this. We cooked up an idea with you, Dylan, to really drive home the differentiation of Sport Trade. I don't know if you've given your listeners a bit of a heads up, or if you want me to sort of explain the contest structure from scratch.
Well, we know what the prizes are. We've been really upfront about that. So what's at stake here? If you're just tuning in, this is a little contest that Sport Trade is offering right now. Alex is going to get into the rules of how this works, but the ultimate prize is a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 of credit to Sport Trade to be able to use to place wagers with. But what we haven't talked about is what it's going to take to win this prize. And that's what I was hoping you could get into with us.
Perfect. So here's what we're going to do, starting with this week, and we're going to do this every week. We might improve the contest structure with user feedback over time, but here's what we're going to do week one. The Cardinals this week, they're playing at the 49ers. Okay. The contest is all you can do is text in I'm sure they'll have to use, Dylan, you let them know, code 1580, Keon, whatever you suggest. All you have to do is text in what you think the win probability, according to Sporttrade, the Cardinals will have by the end of the first half against the 49ers. So right now on Sporttrade, the Cardinals are at 24.5% chance. So when you text in, all you're texting in is what you think that number, their win chance, will be after the first half of the football game. So you could say something like 38. Someone could text in 47. Someone that's a real Debbie Downer could say 10. Last week against the Commanders, they were about 29 or 30%. That would have been the winning score. And then whoever's closest will win that week's prize, which is a $100 Amazon gift card plus $50 tossed into your Sporttrade account, no strings attached.
And obviously, you don't need to already be signed up with Sporttrade to be able to take advantage and try and win this prize. Is that correct?
That is correct. Available and open to everyone.
So, and I just want to give some clarity to everyone about this. If you do happen to have the Sporttrade app, when you open it and you go to bet on any game, the way that the app structures, how you can wager on this it is displaying the traditional American odds. You'll see that in smaller font, but what the larger numbers are is it's structured as if you're purchasing a share. And we've talked about this previously on the show. Those numbers, those share prices, those are the implied probability. So you might be seeing these numbers expressed as like dollar amounts. They might look like $24.50, or it might say $46, if you're going to bet on the underdog, and then it might say $55 if you're going to bet on the favorite. But those dollars, that's actually the implied probability. Is that right?
That is correct. And from what I can see here, it looks like the Cardinals are offered at 24.5%. So that is the number you're looking at. That is the number that you can reference once you've entered this contest. Text in and say, hey, I think they're going to have a good first half. I think they're going to be 37% chance to win the game. You can come in, check out the app. You can download it. You don't need to even create an account. And you can say, hey, how close was I? Looks like the Cardinals are up, 14-10 at halftime. That's a lot better than 0-0 at the beginning of the first half. They've got to be higher than that 24.5%. Where are they now? And so that's the contest. It's a bit of a new structure. It's not, the traditional way you may think about a sports bet, but that's what makes Sporttrade so exciting, is it allows you to make and lose money based on the win probabilities changing.
And to be clear, the number that you are going to text is us here at 1580 The Fanatic. You will be texting 888-368-1580. So that is where, if you're listening to this right now and you want to participate, do whatever research, do whatever thinking you need to do. You're trying to kind of project how the first half of the Cardinals and the 49ers game is going to go. So, for example, if the Cardinals were to score right away and they took an early lead, their probability, it's starting the game at 24.5%. It's probably going to go up. Now, could it go up all the way to 100? No, it can't. It doesn't matter what the score is. And I want to make that clear because I don't want to see anyone kind of burning, a chance to win a prize.
Yeah, this is your lottery ticket. Don't burn it. It can't be 0 and it can't be 100.
Exactly. So you got to, just kind of understand how this works. And a good reference, which I've talked about with Alex before too, is if, you happen to go to ESPN and you're looking at any game that's already happened there. And if you scroll down a little bit on the summary, they have a win probability chart where they're showing at all points of the game what the probability was for each team to win the game. And you'll even see in the first half of any given game, that number is not going to be 0 and it's not going to be 100 because we don't know what's going to happen that other half of play. So I just want to be clear. Do not text in 0. Do not text in 100, but it could fall anywhere in between depending on what happens. If somehow the Cardinals put up 8 touchdowns and the Niners don't score anything by halftime, the Cardinals aren't going to be 100, but they might be 90. Likewise, if the 49ers do the same thing, then perhaps, 24.5 might be that higher win probability total that, they'll see throughout the game. we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Keon, we got something on the text line?
Yeah, we got a couple of things going on the text line. First off, Golden Domer, the moist one, you can send those in at halftime of the game, because we're talking about what's the probability going to be. They are texting that in right now. But also, the moist one asked, is it Price is Right rules? Is it closest without going over, or is it just the closest on either side of the number, Alex?
Oh, that's a good question. What do we like there? I kind of like the concept of the Price is Right. Like you got to get as close as possible without going over. And I think actually that's a really good idea because it could be a good tiebreaker. So for example, if somebody guesses 30% win odds for what is the probability of the Cardinals to win according to Sporttrade at halftime, and someone guesses 32% chance, and then Sporttrade reads 31%, you sort of have a tie between the two. But if we go with the Price is Right format, the person that guessed 30 is going to win because they were the closest without having gone over. So if you guys are cool with that, I think, you'd have to stop the contest at a certain point. Once the game starts, the contest is effectively closed. But I do like this idea of you got to get as close as possible in that win chance without going over.
Perfect. No, I'm definitely keeping track of that here. And just want to be clear, Alex, we are only accepting whole numbers, correct? We're not accepting one decimal.
Yeah, I think keep it simple. Just guess a whole number. Again, the closest person is going to win. Dylan, I'm curious, your thought process, not to put you on the spot, not to say that you could be eligible to win, but where do you think, okay, the Cardinals are playing at the 49ers. 49ers look pretty good. They are banged up a little bit. Where do you think the Cardinals are going to be win probability-wise at halftime?
So we chatted a little bit about this yesterday, not getting into the actual win probability part, but just kind of where we saw this game going. And, Kyler Murray doesn't have the greatest track record against the 49ers. This is a little bit of a unique spot. And there's just something to be said about all of the underdog success that we've seen so far in this NFL season. I just don't think it can be discounted at all. So, I mean, taking that into account, I'm not saying that the Cardinals are going to outright win the game, but where I'm leaning towards is I think they're going to score first. And assuming that they score first, that means that the win probability is going up, and then at that point, it's just a matter of, well, do they keep the lead going into halftime or do they let it slip? And I'm leaning towards this being more of a similar game to what happened in Buffalo in week 1. So as long as that's the case, Cardinals are going to have a bit of a dominating first half. I would not be surprised to see that win probability get up to maybe 48%, somewhere really close to 50-50. So that's kind of where my head's at on it. And again, just to be clear, you can text in right now, whatever that number is going to be, and you can text us tomorrow. You can text us all the way up until the start of the game. So starting right now, all the way up until Sunday, right before kickoff, that's when we'll be accepting entries to this. Only one entry per person. So, don't be sending in multiple numbers. It's not going to do you any better in this. We're only going to take that first number that you send us. It's got to be a whole number. And again, you are betting on the highest implied probability of the Cardinals to win on the money line during the first half of the Cardinals and the 49ers game. And I think after we kind of do this week after week, and especially if you sign up for Sporttrade and you see what this looks like on the app, it's going to make a lot more sense. But we'll figure this out as we, go on with it. And it's certainly a really awesome thing that, Sporttrade is willing to, try and help get, people's foot in the door with this and offer up some really nice, freebies. So I think everyone that listens to this station loves a good prize. We know that from history.
Yeah. And this is kind of unrelated to the context, but it a contest, but on the text line, Against the Spread has a question, since you got Alex right here. Why not shoot your shot? He says, can you guys ask Alex if you're allowed to buy the hook? There is nothing worse as a gambler than losing by half a point.
Answer: absolutely. I'll use an example here. Cardinals +7 right now on Sport Trade is offered at 49.5% win odds. But if you wanted the hook, all you have to do is scroll down and it'll show you that Cardinals +7.5, here's that half the point, is 53% win odds. In fact, Sport Trade offers you the ability to bet basically any number that's in and around. So you could bet, you could bet if you wanted to Cardinals +11.5. That's offered at 64% odds. On the flip side, you could bet something as low as, Cardinals plus, I'm looking at +1.5, which is offered at 28.5% odds. So you can basically bet on anything. Anything will have a price. And of course, if Cardinals +7 is offered at 49.5% odds, it sort of makes sense that it's more expensive to take Cardinals +7.5. It goes from 49.5% to 53% win odds. That's the odds of Cardinals +7.5. So you can always take that hook. You can take more than the hook. You can take a bunch. You can try to middle the game by saying, hey, I'm going to take Cardinals +11.5, but at the same time, I'll go and take San Francisco minus, let's say, 3.5 and give yourself an 8-point middle. You can do all of those things.
And something that we haven't got into on this program yet, Alex, and I feel kind of bad I haven't brought it up yet. But if you haven't signed up for Sport Trade yet, and you're listening to this, and you've signed up for some other sports books, that those other sports books do some kind of special promotion for being a new sign up. Sport Trade does that as well. Can you kind of just outline to us how that works on Sport Trade?
Yep. So once you download the Sport Trade app, you create an account, you toss in, let's say, $50. Every single bet you place in your first week earns you 10% cash back. Not a free bet, not a credit, cash. So if your first bet's a $100 bet on, let's say, the person that just asked, they want to buy the hook, so they're going to take Cardinals +7.5 at 53% win odds. Let's say they put $50 on that, they earn $5. And then there's a way to track that throughout the app, throughout your first week. And at the end of the first week, we pay that out in one lump sum that comes right into your account. So it's a nice way of sort of getting started, because it sort of makes every single bet you place in your first week that much more advantageous, because you're earning 10% pending cash back. And you'll actually see that on the order window. So you're going to place that first bet. Let's say it's a $50 bet. It'll show you, hey, you're betting 50 to profit maybe 30 or whatever the odds imply. And you've just earned $5 of pending cash back. So that's the Sport Trade offer. It's capped at $300 max cash back. That's the Sport Trade welcome offer.
Well, and to your point there with that, I have now had Sport Trade for a week, and the other day I opened up my app and I noticed the balance was a bit higher than what I was expecting, and I was kind of like, oh, did I win something? And I didn't remember, and I was kind of like going back. I was like, how do I have all this extra money? And then I put two and two together, and it was the cashback promotion paying me. So I was able to get just an extra $50 just from, doing the thing I like and using the app and trying to place wagers, and especially the in-game betting and the, buying low and selling high on the shares. It's been a lot of fun, leveraging that feature. I wanted to ask you, Alex, we had a pretty crazy football game yesterday. Was there anyone in particular that you can point out that had a good experience with like buying low and selling high in that Falcons and Bucks matchup?
I think the Falcons and Bucks, there was actually a surprising amount of volume on the Mets Brewers. And last night I was actually sitting with my dad. We were watching the game. He said, "Hey, open up Sport Trade. Like, what's the what are the Mets at right now?" The answer was 6%. And as I was reading that, I was looking at the tape, which again is accessible to everyone. It's coming to Android soon. It's accessible to everyone with an iPhone or an iPad. You do not even need to have an account. It's called the tape. Just as I was telling my dad there were 6% win odds, there was someone that put $100 at the Mets 6% win odds. Now remember, it's the top of the ninth inning. They're down 2-0. We all know what happened. 2 men on base. Pete Alonso hits an Oppo Taco home run, and then they end up taking a 4-2 lead. After the top of the ninth inning, there were people who were betting at 6% win odds on the Brewers. So we saw a lot of volatility in that game. And baseball is a great sport for sport trade because it sort of gives you a couple seconds in between pitches, a couple minutes in between innings to say, okay, I get it. The Mets are down 2-0. They got 3 outs left. They've got Nimmo, Lindor, and Alonso coming up. How do I handicap this? And you can see a sort of stable price of 6% win odds. And yeah, we had players, buy low, which is really, really cool. You can do that for anything. You don't just have to do it for the money line. I think we saw a lot of action on the over last night initially, about 43.5, 44. Obviously, that game flew over. So that's a great example of someone being able to say, you know what, I'll take the over 43 at 51% win odds. And then boom, by the end of the first quarter, that might be trading at 90%. It was 17-17 midway through the second quarter of the game. So definitely a lot of activity on the game, but a surprising amount of activity on the Mets Brewers.
So, I mean, that's absolutely something to keep in mind. We've got a lot of exciting NFL football on Sunday. We've got MLB baseball on Saturday and Sunday all throughout the weekend. So, those are great examples that Alex just described of ways that you can leverage sport trade for this upcoming weekend to try and, make some money live betting on these games and, framing those bets as, purchasing shares of a stock, and doing it based on implied probability instead of, the typical way this works with, American odds. Alex, I apologize, man. We got a little too into the weeds here, and I think we are up on a commercial break. But just want to say thank you again for joining us today, and we will certainly touch base on this contest with everyone on Monday. So again, make sure to send in what your pick is going to be for how high the probability will get on the Cardinals to win the game against the 49ers during the first half. Alex, thanks again, and hope you have a great weekend, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Keon and I are going to go into some of the picks to make for tonight, on Saturday, on Sunday. Stick around. This is Beat the Book. You're listening to 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
It's fall football on The Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play. Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games. Plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
4 years. That's how long it took Democrats to ruin our economy and plunge our southern border into anarchy. Who helped them hurt us? Ruben Gallego. Washington could have cut taxes for Arizona families, but Ruben blocked the bill. And his fellow Democrats gave a bigger break to the millionaire class in California and New York. They played favorites and cost us billions. And Ruben wasn't done yet. Democrats could have secured the border. Instead, they invited an invasion and used our tax dollars to pay for it. Ruben Gallego even backed the law to let them vote in our elections. Don't give Gallego and the Democrats another 4 years to hurt us. Give your support to a real Arizona leader, Kari Lake. Kari and the Republicans will secure the border, support our families, and never turn their backs on us. Kari Lake for Senate.
I'm Kari Lake, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Kari Lake for Senate and the NRSC.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If it's local,
we talk about it.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
All right. Not a whole lot of show before we get to the recap of that interview real quick. Just get to the text line here. Because some of the people listening have decided to already send in some of their picks. 2498 says 27%. We're going to hold you to that. Also, text your nickname. You need one. You should probably go ahead and send that too while you're at it. Golden Domer says 17%. The Moist one was asking if it's the highest number it will be in the first half or the number at the end of the first half. So, Dylan, take it away.
Highest possible win probability during the first half. So it doesn't have to be like what it is at the end. You know, if at some point in that first half, the Cardinals just get up a lot and then they give up that lead, and, you know, the win probability like kind of peaks maybe at the end of the first quarter, and then it, you know, shoots back down and it's much lower by the end of the first half. We're looking for where that peak is in the implied probability.
Okay. Even I was kind of confused about that, to be honest. So highest probability it's going to be in the first half. Yes, you're allowed to change your answer. I'm going to count the answer you send me last before that's all over. So once we reach halftime of the game, I'm not counting anything you send after that. Obviously, we're talking about first half. What's the highest it's going to be?
Well, and you need to get this text in. Again, that's 888-368-1580. You can send it anytime between now and the start of the Cardinals and 49ers game on Sunday. So after that game starts, if there's a text that comes in and someone's trying to make a pick and the game's already started, we cannot count that. That's at that point, it's not eligible. But again, the winner is going to be the number that is as close as possible without going over. So again, if the highest implied probability during the first half for the Cardinals is 40%, and you put in 41, but there's someone that put in 39, that 39% is going to win, not the 41. So that was the rules that Alex Kane just described. You need to send us a whole number. It cannot have a decimal. So also keep that in mind.
I'll do you a favor. If you give me a decimal, I'll round up to the nearest whole number for you. But just to be on the safe side, just don't. If you send me a half, that's dealer's choice. I will absolutely just choose a number for you, the number that makes me feel the happiest. So just send whole numbers and save yourself the trouble, please.
And again, there is a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 of sports betting credit to Sport Trade on the line here. You do not need to have a Sport Trade account already set up to participate. So if you're just listening, if you didn't happen to catch that interview, but you heard that there's a contest and there's a prize, and you want to take a stab at, you know, what the highest implied probability is going to be on the Cardinals to win on the money line during the first half of the Cardinals versus 49ers game on Sunday, shoot us a text, 888-368-1580. Send us what that whole number is going to be. Do not send us 0. Do not send us 100. You will not win if you send either one of those two numbers. And with that being said, we've got a little bit of time left here. So I just wanted to shout out a couple of sports bets that you guys can look to make tonight and over the course of this weekend. We have the WNBA playoffs kicking back off tonight. They took a break yesterday, and there's a couple of really compelling matchups. It's down to the final 4 best teams in the WNBA. You've got the Aces playing the Liberty, and you've got the Minnesota Lynx taking on the Connecticut Sun. What AI identified as one of the absolute highest value wagers that you can possibly place today. It's on the New York Liberty to win on the money line. So they are looking to knock out the Las Vegas Aces. That game is taking place in Las Vegas. The Liberty lead the series 2-0 right now. If they get that third win, they will knock the Aces out. They have not lost to the Aces since the WNBA Finals last year. 5-0 record, 3 wins during the regular season, 2-0 so far in this playoff series. That honestly really speaks for itself. You know, there's a lot of sentiment from odds makers that because this series is at home, that somehow the Aces have the edge. AI does not see that. Personally, I think there's a bit of turmoil going on within the Aces.
There's a little bit of, coaching drama, star player drama, which is the worst thing to happen on a team in the postseason.
So if you are still able to get the Liberty on the money line for even money or better, you're going to want to take advantage of that. Absolutely a ton of value, looking at trying to get on the Liberty there. The other pick is in the Padres and the Dodgers series. Look for the Padres every single game in this series to be priced as an underdog. And anyone that's been watching baseball that just kind of gives it the eye test, you know that that's not right. There's always going to be this sentiment for the Dodgers. It's a big market team. It's LA. They've got Shohei. But the reality is that this is a team with a fractured pitching staff right now. They've got Yamamoto on the mound tonight, a rookie playing in his first MLB playoff game. Has had some good starts. Who knows how he's going to do today? You've got Jack Flaherty going tomorrow, who is a solid pitcher. But after that, you're falling off a cliff with the talent that you've got in the starting pitching rotation. So look for the Padres to ultimately win this series. If you want to just take them to win the series, you can do that. But I do have them on the money line tonight. They are red hot. Between the Padres and the Tigers, there's really no one else playing better in the MLB right now. So make sure you get on that. And then check out the other picks. There's 8 more additional bets to consider. I've got some favorite parlay combinations, a long shot parlay. So check out the Beat the Book website. And happy betting, everyone. Take us home, Dion.
So we've got a couple of texts rolling in on the text line. A lot of those players guessing those numbers. So I see you 2498. Please get a text number 38% there from CK. And the moist one, stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. So that's going to be it for the show today. Golden Domer, appreciate you sending in a second guess now that you've got your clarification. Best of luck, fellas. Send in those numbers as you do your homework. Beat the Book.
With NFL Network now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Falcons beat the Bucs 36-30 in an overtime.